Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Morrison County Planning Commission public hearings for April 30th, 2024. Please rise for the flag pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I have a few items to cover before we get started. Please sign in at the door if you have not already done so. There you also find a detailed handout of the step-by-step procedure we will follow tonight. If you wish, please take one. Please put any electronic devices on silent mode at this time. Also, please note that all testimony is being recorded for the record. Members of the Planning Commission are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land Service staff is here to assist the Planning Commission with its duties. The task of the Planning Commission is to hold a public hearing and make a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners for approval or denial of requests for conditional and interim use permits, rezones, plats, and ordinance amendments in accordance with state law and county ordinance. The burden of approving a request meets the criteria for approval requests rests with the applicant. There is a protocol for how we will proceed tonight. For each request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, hear testimony from the applicants, and then we will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, I will ask if there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request. I will ask each party to come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and give their testimony. Please be as factual as possible and direct all statements and questions to me. After all testimony is complete, I will close the public hearing portion of the process. The Planning Commission will then review and discuss the case in terms of our findings of fact criteria as required by Minnesota statute and county ordinance. We will have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions be made, then there will be a final motion to recommend approval or denial to the County Board of Commissioners. After the final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. The County Board of Commissioners will then consider the request and our recommendation at their next regular meeting and will either grant or deny the request. Okay, we got one agenda on the docket for the Planning Commission tonight, and that is 5 Star Ranch Selco Partnership, 8756 400th Avenue, Hillman. Application for conditional use permit to construct a communication tower located in the northwest quarter of southwest quarter, section 10, Township 39, range 28, Lakin Township. The applicant, please come forward. Then pull the mic down so we can hear, and please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Rick Adams. I'm here representing Verizon Wireless. I'm their primary zoning agent for Minnesota and pretty much the Midwest.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, Amy, you ready with the staff report?
I am, Mr. Chair. Again, this is a conditional use permit request to construct a telecommunications tower in Section 10 of Lakin Township. The ordinance references for this request is Section 604.6, which requires a conditional use permit for communication towers, and then Section 1222 contain the performance standards for telecommunication towers. Here's a plat map of the township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the conditional use permit request received from the applicant, along with a couple of site maps. And then here's a photograph, or within your application there was a series of photo studies. I just put in one, but it was from various distances from the tower. And then here's an aerial photograph of the property outlined in blue. And then the, the red X is the proposed location of the tower. This is a 40-acre parcel located in the southeast corner of Morrison County within Lake and Township. An active mining pit exists on the property, although no permitting is on file for its establishment. The applicant is Rick Adams of Selco Partnership on behalf of Verizon Wireless, and a conditional use permit was granted to the property in April of 2021 to construct a 190-foot self-supported telecommunication tower. Pursuant to ordinance section 506.9, the use approved under a conditional use permit must commence within 2 years. There is an ability to ask for an extension of up to 1 year, but after that time, if it hasn't been acted on, the conditional use is null and void. An extension was requested and granted, however, the project was not built, and the conditional use permit and land use permit have lapsed. So the applicant is requesting a new conditional use permit to construct the communications tower. The location of the tower is in the northwest corner of the parcel, and the tower would be off 400th Avenue, which is a township road. The leased area would be a 100 by 100 rock pad over geotextile fabric, and the area would be fenced with a gate on the west and north ends. The leased compound would contain the tower and 2 concrete pads with an equipment cabinet and generator. The 190-foot tower is freestanding. No guy wires are needed for support. Overall height would be 199 feet, and that would include the lightning rod. The tower would have the capacity to accommodate up to 3 service providers' equipment. The applicant has provided information regarding the proposal's compliance with the Land Use Control Ordinance performance standards, as well as engineered tower plans, and those were found in your packet. The surrounding area consists of agricultural fields and forest with sparse development. Need for cell phone coverage in this area has been identified due to an annual mud truck event that brings thousands of people to the area. The applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives in agriculture is goal A1, and goal A2, and then under A2, objective 1. And then local economic development, goal C1, objective 8. And then also objectives 1, 7, and 19. 12 notices were sent, and 1 comment was received in support of the request. And then here are your conditional use criteria questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Amy. This time, would the applicant have anything to add to the staff report, or everything seem correct to you?
Yes, everything's correct. As Amy has said, that this site was approved before. We had the meeting via Zoom, so none of us ever met. There was some opposition to it, and I answered those questions, I think, thoroughly. The big question when we went through the DRT was, why wasn't this built previously? And, people have the impression that Verizon and AT&T and all these companies have a ton of money and they could just spend it at will, but that's not the case. What happened, obviously this was approved during COVID, and it disrupted the industry quite a bit. And then in 2021, following the COVID disruptions, the FCC had a what they call mid-band auction that Verizon participated in really heavily. And it was a record auction. Verizon took most of their expansion money out of their build program to buy this spectrum from the FCC. And the reason why they did that, it was a special spectrum for 5G, and a lot of bandwidth that had never been auctioned off before, and it was really
Something was needed.
This is their future. They needed to participate in this for future growth, because they're not just in the business of trying to provide basic coverage anymore. They're trying to provide a lot of capacity in big cities and in rural areas. for the ever-growing usage of of the services, because we're not just servicing cell phones anymore, and even so our cell phones aren't really cell phones, they're mini computers. But in the future, they're really going to be servicing a lot of rural TV service, a lot of streaming video, and just a lot of data for a lot of different reasons. Driving cars are going to use this data. Computers, a lot of people are going to go to fixed wireless internet service instead of the wireline services. So they know what's coming 5-10 years from now. They are projecting, and they knew they had to participate in this auction. So after the auction occurred and they spent a ton of money in the auction and bought this spectrum, then they had to go spend a lot of money buying the equipment to work in those spectrums and deploy on their towers. Now, this didn't just affect Verizon, this affected AT&T and T-Mobile. So Verizon's coming out of this rebuild. They went out and literally rebuilt every cell site they had to deploy this new service, or this new spectrum. And now they're back into, well, we got to go back and fill in holes that we identified previously. And so this isn't the only site they're bringing back, and I'm working on several in Cass and Crow Wing County and in Iowa, North and South Dakota. So this happened to a lot of sites. It wasn't just Morrison County. So obviously Morrison County, you folks are kind of competing with the big cities for infrastructure, and those big cities get taken care of first typically, because that's where a lot of their profit comes. And then us, I live up in Cass County, so I kind of know what's going on up here in rural Minnesota. And we, kind of get what's left over. So hopefully they have this on their build budget for 2025. And I'm hoping that this time it gets built, because I don't want to come back a third time and do this. But other than that explanation, like I said, the other paperwork's pretty much the same as it was before. Propagation maps. This, like Amy said, this is really a rural area. It's one of the most rural sites that I've worked with. I think the closest house not connected with Five Star Ranch is 3/4 of a mile away. And other than being rural, the propagation maps show clearly the added coverage, how this site kind of works with the two sites to the east, and will fill a big hole. And especially for year-round, not just for the Truck Fest, but this is going to serve the community year-round, as much needed out in that area. Other than that, I think I'll wait till see if similar objections that happened last time crop up again.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Guess at this time, I'll turn it over to the planning commission if anybody has any questions or concerns for either the applicant or staff. We'll go through that right now, so if anybody has any.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Brent.
just one question for clarification. Since 2021 till now, most of this is the same. Is there anything changed with the population of density of housing in the area?
Not that I've seen on Google Earth.
Okay, 3/4 of a mile was stated
There's
before,
a-
and that's
yeah.
what you're saying again?
Yeah, there's a farmhouse to the northwest. That's the closest one. The other houses to the south, west and southeast are over a mile away.
Okay, thank you.
But
Maybe
we
that-
put these towers in the middle of housing developments, so, but this just happens to be really rural, but same type of structure goes in the middle of housing developments, around housing developments.
Yep. And Amy, is that your assessment that that's a correct statement?
Yes, I believe that it is.
Anything else, Brent?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. George, you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I just had one question. On the collapsibility of these towers, like at wind speed and stuff, I'm reading through the stuff, it looks like they must collapse pretty much upon themselves, is how.
Right. I've never, in the report, it says the fall zone was 50 feet, but really, I've never seen a tower fail like that, and I've been in the business 30 years. They typically bend over on themselves. They're talking about, well, they engineered it so it's going to bend 50 feet from the top, and if that somehow separates and lays on the ground, you're going to have a 50-foot piece on the ground. But I never seen one separate like that. They just bend.
Thank you.
Marv?
Mr. Chair, first, did we hear anything from the township on this here?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
they were invited to the Board of Adjustment, or to the Development Review Team meeting, and they were also provided with the full packet, and we did not get any comment from the township.
Okay, that usually means they're in support of it. The other one was, the last time we heard this, there was a mine nearby, and there was some concern about that. I'm guessing nothing has happened, materialized with that mine. It's still not in use. Am I correct with that statement?
I guess that would be a question for the applicant as far as his knowledge of what's happening if it's an active mining. We're not aware of any active mining.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any either. He's mostly farming out there now.
Okay. I have no more questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. So my main question was kind of similar, was if they're taking gravel out of there, and to our knowledge, that's not happening. The other one got answered earlier with why he didn't get it built. You did an excellent job at explaining that and answering my question that I didn't get to ask because it got asked or whatever. But so that was my main question. So we'll see if something else comes up. I guess at this time we'll.
The other thing I should add real
Yep, go
quickly
ahead.
is this is an unlit tower. It's not going to be lighted.
Yep.
That's usually important to people around.
Yep. Yeah, so I have down 199 foot, including the lightning rod, and no lights.
Right.
And there is no, reading through, that is legal. They're not requiring you to have lights. You meet the threshold, so that's why. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I guess at this time I'll open up to anybody in the audience that would like to speak either for or against this request. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to speak to it, please go to the podium, state your name for the record, and whatever's on your mind. So I have to ask 3 times. So that was once, so twice. Anybody in the audience wish to speak to this application, please go to the podium. Then the 3rd and final time, anybody who would like to wish to speak to this applicant, please go to the podium at this time. Hearing no public comment, we'll close this portion of the meeting to the public. Again, before we go to our criteria questions and discuss them, anybody on the board have anything else you'd like to hear from staff or the applicant? All ready for the questions? Okay. So we'll talk through them. Okay, so question 1. Okay, we'll start with George. The use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and schools. George?
Yes, it will not put an excessive burden on it. Probably, it's a township road. Once construction is complete, I would expect that there's probably only going to be a few visits a week there. So this would not propose any problems for the township at this time. Yeah, should be good.
Anybody have anything to add to question 1? If not, we'll move to question 2. The request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for use as predominant area. Marvin?
Yes, and a few things I'll say to it. It's a very rural area, and it was brought up a few times. The nearest home is 3/4 of a mile away. In fact, it would be just opposite. It would benefit the area for the fact that you're going to be able to have better cell phone coverage. In the agriculture area, this is rural ag, and the newer ag equipment have been running GPSs, and so it'd be supportive of it. So, in that being said, it would not be in detriment. It would be an advantage. And 11 or 12 notices were sent, and one was in support of it. So, yeah, it absolutely not be a problem with that.
Okay, thank you, Marv. Okay, question 3. The use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. Yeah, I believe it is reasonably related to, groundwater and surface water. He had a detailed engineering plan on how the structure's gonna go up. Basically, it's some boring to put concrete pillars down. There isn't gonna be a lot of excavation. There'll be some, but not excess excavation. It's out in kind of a remote area of the county where there's a need for this. Nobody's like right underneath the tower. There's some distance away. It's in an ag zoning, and then there is a gravel pit that's not really being used. They're not going to be going in and out. I know. I think I read somewhere in there they maintain it 3-4 times a year or something like that. There'd be just a technician driving in and out. So, I think yes. The use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Anybody have anything to add to question 3? If not, we'll move to question 4. The use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Brent?
I think it is. Cell towers are allowed in ag areas of the county. This is serving a general need of cell phone and data coverage for not only just the population there, but traversing through the area, as well as even Morrison County employees and workers that are required to respond out to that area. The request is in line with the zoning district by the Ag Goal A2 and the objectives listed in the packet that we've received here tonight. I won't read that, but I'll just reference those. And so I think it is.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything to add to question 4? If not, move to question 5. The use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. George?
The way it looks like for construction, they're going to be excavating a 100-foot by 100-foot area. There'll be minimal soil erosion during this process. Like I think Clint mentioned, putting down the pylons for the tower legs. They'll use geotextile with rock on top of it. FCC and FAA will be oversight on the project, so I don't see any problem with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county.
Okay, thank you, George. Anybody have anything to add to question 5? Okay, if not, before we move forward, is there any reasons or anything anybody on the planning commission sees that we need any conditions or anything on to this? If hearing none, I guess we'll just proceed to vote. Okay, question 1. The use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and schools. George?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Question 2, the request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in area. Marvin?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Question 3, the use and opinion of the planning commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Question 4, the use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purpose of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Brent?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Question 5, the use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. George?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Okay, looks like all the questions were answered in affirmative. So I guess at this time we take a motion to recommend.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion to recommend this conditional use permit.
I will second that.
Okay, there's a motion to recommend approval to the County Board of Commissioners, and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Myself, Clint is aye. George?
Aye.
Brent?
Aye.
Okay. So we're gonna recommend that the commissioners approve this. That's our recommendation. The county board meeting would be May 7th. If you have any questions between now and then, contact Amy or anybody at the land services staff and they can work along with you.
Amy, what time on the agenda are you usually?
I'm not assigned a time, but the meeting itself starts at 9. I'm usually never first on the agenda, so I would say anytime between 9 and 10 o'clock is when the agenda item would be coming forward to the board. Okay?
Thank you very
Yep.
much.
Okay. Yep. So I guess if you guys had a chance to look over our April 2nd minutes, we could approve them.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the April 2nd minutes.
Okay. Marvin, you seconded them?
I'll second them.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the April 2nd, 2024 minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes approved. Any new business?
Mr. Chair, I think the only thing I want to do is circle back with you on some information I had given you on anaerobic biodigesters. And I did have some conversation with the county board this morning regarding adding that to our upcoming ordinance amendment. Although they're not opposed to having that, they felt they needed more information to make thoughtful ordinance provisions for those. So I just wanted to let you know that we will be visiting that, but it will be in a different ordinance amendment. So we will be looking at that probably still in 2024, but you won't see that addition in this upcoming ordinance amendment. So I just wanted to update you on that. Otherwise, Mr. Chair, I have no more information on that or any other new business.
Okay, thank you. Any old business?
I don't have any, Mr. Chair.
No, we're good. Okay, so I take a motion to adjourn at this time.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Meeting adjourned at 6:30.